Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us on this St. Patrick's Day. I thought I'd wear green for the occasion. What do you think? Is that all right? And interestingly enough, we made this statement in the Immigration Enforcement Council quarterly meeting. And this is what the media ran. During a closed door meeting Monday, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd. For the media, not true. It was not a closed meeting. It was a public meeting. It was announced to the media. In fact, there was media present. That's how they jumped on this and provided a story. The other thing I want to clarify is Florida sheriffs rebel against Trump's DeSantis mass deportation efforts. Not true. We, in fact, support the mass deportation of illegal aliens, those that are criminals, those that have warrants of deportation, those that are here creating havoc and problems. If you're here illegally and you take that risk to be here illegally, then you're going to be deported. Everyone that ICE says deport, we deport. And that's important. So let me go through some of this by the numbers for those of you who weren't there yesterday and tell you that I am the chairman of the State Immigration Enforcement Council. And yes, during the meeting, as part of the meeting, we looked at paths forward. And as a result of looking at paths forward, we looked at our infrastructure we put together and how easy it was or how difficult it may have been for some agencies to report so that we could provide accurate data to the State Immigration Enforcement Board. And that's made up of the governor and the various cabinet members. But I want to dispel the hyperbole that there is some break from what we should be doing or what the President of the United States and the governor has asked. That's just not true. It's media rhetoric. And I want to make it abundantly clear that we in Florida law enforcement wholeheartedly support and endorse ICE. We fully cooperate with them, and I might add that they fully cooperate with us. In fact, they're excellent to work with. I can't say enough good about them. The issues that you have seen in other states, quite frankly, were created by the states themselves because they would not allow ICE agents to work in the jail and identify those that were there illegally, not only committing crime in this country, but certainly being in the country while they committed crime illegally, and many of them already with deportation warrants. But that's not the purpose of today. But when it comes to immigration, one size doesn't fit all. And that's why the State Immigration Enforcement Council was brilliantly formed by the federal legislature and Governor DeSantis. We're a think tank. We're subject matter experts. There's 4 sheriffs and 4 chiefs of police. And the purpose for us is to provide input, to do research for the Enforcement Immigration Board, and to send it to them. It's not to make decisions for them. It's not to direct them, but it's simply to provide information that we see on the ground doing the job every day. That's why they put 4 police chiefs and 4 sheriffs on the board, because we deal with the local issues at eye level, face to face. And our decision makers in Tallahassee and Washington don't have that opportunity. And our job is simply to provide feedback. And that's what we did yesterday and what we'll continue to do. But I want you to know clearly, one of the quotes was that, one of Governor DeSantis's favorite sheriffs, Grady Judd, has split from his view. That's not true. I want to tell you clearly and unequivocally From the time Governor DeSantis attacked the COVID issue, which was very difficult, to the illegal immigration issue, crime is at an all-time low. Florida's never been as safe as it ever as safe as it is right now, despite an influx of people moving here. It is the safe state of Florida as well as the free state of Florida. Governor DeSantis, in my estimation, is the best governor we've had, and he's my friend. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to provide him and the Immigration Board and my colleagues the best information that we're seeing at eye level on the ground. To do anything other would be disingenuous. So the conversation was, listen, we don't have the opportunity to look at things simply through a philosophical lens. We have to look at the common sense approach when it comes to immigration. Let me say this clearly and unequivocally. 76% of the immigration detainers my agency has placed has been because of accompanying criminal charges. Let me say that again. 76% of the immigration detainers that we've requested from ICE is based upon other criminal charges. 24% are collaterals, and what I say in most of those cases is they hung out with somebody committing crime when we had the opportunity to engage them, and they were in the country illegally. If you enter this country illegally, you accept the inherent risk that goes with that. Now, the United States of America has decided to deal with the first-time illegal entry as a civil offense, which is, in effect, a violation of federal law, but it's a civil violation, not a criminal violation. When we started down this path, we didn't do, and we're not doing at this agency, anything different today than we did during the Biden administration, the last Trump administration, or the last Obama administration. Nothing. We're simply doing what we always do. When we engage someone, and I'll use traffic stops as an example, we run warrants checks on everyone because we're looking to see if there's any warrants for their arrest. Prior to this Trump administration, the 1.5 illegal warrants for deportation were not in the National Crime Information Center. So when we engaged these people, we had no way of knowing that there was a federal ICE warrant for them. We do now because ICE has put those warrants in our system. There's approximately 1.5 million existing deportation warrants. Depending on whose data you want to look at, there's between 10 and 18 million illegal aliens in this country. Listen, folks, and this is where our conversation tipped over. All of this is Congress's responsibility to sort out. And what we suggested yesterday, there needs to be a path forward for those that are in this country. They came here illegally. They violated the federal law, but it's a civil violation. Currently, they have no criminal history. They're not committing crime. They're employed. They're not on government assistance. They're not creating problems. Their children are in school. They need to be required to speak English through a program. There needs to be evidence of positive community integration into our society. But those people who are adding to the American dream and enjoying the American dream that came here illegally, I might add, but they're doing good and they're not a drag on society. They're in fact helping society. We need to find a path for them. And the reason for that is simple. They're doing what's right. and they're helping the economy, they're helping the community, they're adding to the wonderful society that we have in the United States. But there's a lot of folks that are here illegally, that are committing crimes, that are violating the law, that are being incorrigible, that are dangerous, that are violent, that don't care what the laws are. Listen to me, folks. There's 2 lifetimes worth of work for law enforcement to deal with them. And for the law enforcement agencies that aren't appropriately dealing with them, get on board and get with it. That's important. But at the same time that we literally are overrun with arresting those that are violating the law, that are here with illegal, that are here because there's warrants of deportation, because they've been ordered out of the country, because they've not done what's appropriate, that's a full-time job for all of us. But the illustration, one illustration that I give, there's a lady that's about 40 years old. She was brought here illegally as a teenager by her parents. She's married to an American. She works. She doesn't violate the law. She has no criminal history. She's not currently violating any laws. She's adding to society. That's not the problem person. There's millions of problem people we need to be dealing with. Our conversation yesterday focused on a path forward for those that are here doing what's right other than being illegal. Set up a system. You waive any further due process if you don't comply in 5 years with learning to speak English. You're not taking any government handouts or money. You're working. Your kids are in school. You're socially interacting in the community. Then, if you meet these standards, that you can move up to the next level. Why is that necessary? Because the way our system's designed, we can't get 18 million people out of this country anyway. So we need to set a priority and focus on the ones, which is what we're doing, by the way, and let me underscore that, which is what we're doing, is focus on the ones that are a drag on our society, that are committing crimes, that are being a problem. But there's some areas of the country that are defending those people, and that's a real problem. So we support that. Interestingly enough, only one member of the Immigration Enforcement Council could not be on the call yesterday. 100% of those in attendance believed we should find a path forward for those that are doing good but crossed into this country illegally, violating a civil federal law. They should be fined. They should be held accountable. They should pay whatever that fine is. But if the Congress will do their job, and they're not, and they haven't, if Congress will do their job and deal with this group, then it frees us up to focus on those that are committing crime, those that are dangerous, those that are violent, those that are paying no attention. That's what the conversation was about, and it will continue to be about. Since that conversation yesterday, I've received calls from other sheriffs and from throughout the community, and they said, that's exactly the common sense we want. That's what we want. So for the media who's trying to create walls and divisions, That's not what we're saying. I listened to President Trump in the very beginning say, from the worst first, and those that are here illegally, that have warrants for deportation, and that's what we're doing. This is a large country with 10 to 18 million illegal folks. You can always find an individual event that conflicts with the general mood or spirit of the enforcement efforts. But by the way, we don't need a hair on fire approach to all of this. What we need is a thoughtful approach. We've got a lifetime, a law enforcement work lifetime worth of work to do as it is. So, we don't have the luxury to sit back and analyze. Our deputies and police officers are face to face with the folks that are committing the problems. Make no mistake about it. Any illusion that we're not supporting the president or the government is absolutely false. We're providing input. We're providing feedback. One of the illustrations that I provided yesterday, as conservative Republicans, I've talked to business people in this community. They met with me and said, wait a minute. We see people that have been here 10 and 15 years that are not violators of the law, that are working every day, that are being focused on, and why you're picking you, law enforcement, not necessarily the sheriff, not necessarily ICE, but whoever, or dealing with them. Nobody's taking care of the criminals over here. That's what we're saying. And we're providing input. Quite frankly, why are we in this position? Because Congress is sitting in Washington with their political battles against each other. I'm convinced if one party or the other found the cure to the worst cancers, the other party would vote against it. They can't agree to go to the bathroom when they need to. And who suffers? The American people do. Congress needs to go to work. They need to sit down in a room, and the Florida sheriffs can show them how to solve this problem and get rid of those in this country that are illegal, that are problems, that are dealing dope, that are hitting vehicles and leaving the scene, that are running over people, that are creating these problems. We can show you how to get rid of those folks. And those who came here illegally in violation of federal law and are charged civilly, how to fine them appropriately, how to give them a path forward, how to ensure that they are and support their efforts to live the American dream. And while they add to society, it frees us all up to deal with the other issues with the criminals. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science, but quite frankly, it's much more important than rocket science. I really don't need to know what the dirt composition of the moon is or how far we can get into outer space. But I need to be able to deal ethically, morally, and legally with the people in this country and keep them safe. And Florida's crime is low. Unincorporated Polk County and our service cities is at a 54-year low on index crime because we do what's right. And it's right to find a path forward for those that are adding to this country and not detracting from them. Understanding, once again, and I close with this, we can't deal with 10 to 18 million illegal people all at once. All we're doing is setting priorities and giving an exit ramp to those who came here inappropriately and illegally, but to enjoy the American dream. That's what we're saying. And that's only input and feedback. The Immigration Enforcement Board is going to hear from us because we're on the ground, eyeball to eyeball. But to suggest that this is a break, to suggest that we're opposed, is offensive. Our job is to provide ideas and input and data, not create conflict, but to calm the waters and say, hey, there's a better way to do all of this. And that's what we're recommending, and that's the feedback we provide. And then it's up to Congress. It's not up to the Florida Immigration Enforcement Board. It's up to Congress to deal with this issue. And quite frankly, right now, Congress gets an F minus, if you can get worse than an F in dealing with this issue. If Congress was on the market today, I'd like to buy them for what they think they're worth and sell them for what they're worth. They couldn't work for me because they don't do their job. Okay, any questions?
Speaking of Congress, if you talk to local representative Scott Franklin or Daniel Webster,
Do you know, I have had conversations with Congressman Scott Franklin. I've had conversations with our U.S. Senator Rick Scott, who's a friend of mine as well. And I've provided input. And what I've told you here, not only did we talk about it yesterday, I talked about it at a meeting with a immigration think tank, policy think tank, 2 or 3 weeks ago down in Davie, Florida. And I've also said this before to Univision as well. So, but they know this. I understand, so at the end of the day, we just need to get congressional movement on this select piece. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? Because this is an elephant-sized cancer, this immigration malfunction that Congress has kicked down the road and ignored. You eat it one bite at a time. Fix this piece of it, then we'll fix the next piece of it, and then we'll fix the next piece of it. But my deputies, we're here seeing it face to face. We're not watching it from halfway across the country. And I am tired of ICE being beat up. Our cooperation with ICE could not be better. They're game on. Are they perfect? No. Is anyone perfect? No. Is anyone working any harder than ICE right now to try to make sense out of a convoluted set of laws that Congress has created and patchworked over the years? No. ICE is doing a remarkable job here, and they're being thrust into unfortunate circumstances across the nation where there's these states that are protecting these illegal aliens that are criminals and dangerous and violent. So there you go. I could go on with that forever. Yes, sir.
The path forward you described, would you use the word amnesty or another word?
No, I'm not using any words other than a path forward for those that are adding to the value of the United States and adding to the economic value, the social value, the cultural value. The people who you all are going to church and sitting beside on Sunday, that are good folks.
Saludos
They
amigos
saw
de
a wide open
tampa.com. Mi
border.
nombre es José
Now,
Ángel
quite
Acevedo y
frankly,
estamos aquí viendo
let me give
en vivo al alguacil del Condado Polk, Grady Judd, que está dando declaraciones en el día de hoy sobre lo que están publicando desde el día de ayer en varios medios de comunicación que están mencionando que el alguacil Grady Judd se ha distanciado un poco de la política anti-inmigratoria, de la política que ha enviado a decenas de personas, miles de personas inmigrantes y han sido deportadas del estado de Florida. él está diciendo en esta conferencia de prensa desde que inició que en una reunión que realizaron en el día de ayer, que fue abierta, él dijo que básicamente él está recomendándole al gobierno que le den una oportunidad a inmigrantes que están haciendo el bien, que están brindándole algo a la sociedad, que le están haciendo algo positivo, que también tienen familiares, que tienen a sus familias aquí en la bahía de Tampa. Él habló en específico de su condado, del condado Polk. Él mencionó que hay muchos de los inmigrantes que realmente llegaron aquí de una manera ilegal. Sin embargo, en todo el tiempo que llevan viviendo aquí en nuestra bahía, han hecho el bien, y no se puede hacer la misma balanza de juzgar a estas personas de la misma manera que a los criminales. Sin embargo, él está diciendo que realmente ellos llegaron aquí a nuestra zona de una manera ilegal, y él está recomendando que estas personas paguen lo que tengan que pagar, pero que no sea tanto como debería de pagar un criminal, un inmigrante con un historial criminal. Y él está defendiendo básicamente todas esas cosas que estuvo diciendo desde los pasados días, y han estado malinterpretándose, básicamente en la que han dicho que él está distanciado de las políticas migratorias del estado de Florida, también de las políticas migratorias del gobierno de Donald Trump, y también él como uno de los líderes de las asociaciones de alguaciles, también eh, como él es el presidente actual del State Immigration Enforcement Council aquí en Florida. Él tiene que dar esta conferencia de prensa en el día de hoy para poder aclarar esas dudas que básicamente los medios de comunicación han estado publicando durante las pasadas horas, y que en estos momentos, desde que empezó la conferencia de prensa, él estuvo presentando varios de esos headlines, y también mencionó dos medios de comunicación específicos en los que él ha estado hablando durante los pasados días por esto de la inmigración. Él estaba mencionando que básicamente estas personas que están en el condado Polk y que han hecho el bien necesitan una salida buena, y un buen camino para poder permanecer aquí legalmente, pero que paguen por haber llegado aquí ilegalmente. Sin embargo, que él no está en contra de esa política que está brindando, esa política que está ejerciendo el gobierno de Florida y el gobierno del presidente Donald Trump. Vamos a seguir escuchando el resto de la conferencia de prensa para ver qué más dice el alguacil del condado Polk.
That's their decision. Our job is to say, we're here to do research, we're here to support, we're here to give you ideas, we're here to give you feedback, we're here so that you see what's happening on the ground. So whether or not that ends up in a letter or not depends on our feedback, and at the appropriate time, we'll talk with the Immigration Enforcement Board members or some of the members. It has to be a unanimous recommendation one way or the other. But here's what's important to understand.
Otro de los puntos que está mencionando el alguacil Grady Judd en esta conferencia de prensa es que para algo existen las autoridades, y en este caso lo que él está ofreciendo son inputs, algunos consejos para que el gobierno pueda continuar eh, alterando su política anti-inmigratoria, para que de esa manera las personas puedan eh, seguir con sus vidas si no tienen un historial criminal.
Part of that, or none of them part of the, not having a criminal background, maybe they just having a traffic stop or something like that.
Sure. 76%, three out of four that we bumped into, and I call it bumping into. What we do, all we're doing is doing warrants checks from our normal daily police business. 76% of them had accompanying criminal violations here in the United States. 24% didn't. The majority of those 24, I would suggest to you, were hanging out with the ones violating the law. But I did not go back and look at how many of that 24% also had a previous criminal history, and I think that would be good numbers to look at.
Sheriff, do you worry about any political risk this stance could open you up to within your party?
You know, I don't worry about any political risk because I work for the people of Polk County, and I listen to the people of Polk County, and I do what's right for the people of Polk County. And I don't believe that what this position is contrary to the overwhelming majority of the people in the state of Florida, the overwhelming majority of the people that are Republicans, that are Democrats, that are independents, that aren't registered. This is not some, epiphany from above all of a sudden. This is common sense of what's happening here. So I never worry about doing the right thing because I found out if you do what's right, right always wins out. And this is right. And what President Trump's doing with the illegal immigration is right. And what Governor DeSantis is doing is right. There's not.
Entre los detalles que está ofreciendo el alguacil Grady Judd, por aquí voy a compartir con ustedes algunos de ellos. Y es que el 76% de los deportados tienen récord criminal y también el 24% de los deportados tienen el récord limpio. Y eso es lo que él está mencionando en esta conferencia de prensa que él quiere cambiar, que él quiere que el gobierno tome en consideración a estas personas que tienen el récord limpio y se trata de un 24% de los inmigrantes que han sido deportados desde el estado de Florida. Así que vamos a seguir escuchando las últimas preguntas que le están haciendo al alguacil Grady
Said it
Judd.
was a shift that everyone who's here illegally needs to go. Is that Congress's lack of direction that has put law enforcement into this position? Is it an effective policy over the years?
It certainly, Congress has the ability to pass the law to parse that out, and that's the reason for some of this input today. But when you hand us lemons, we're going to make lemonade out of it. And there's no one answer fits all. So what we're saying is Congress does not have a system or a process to say, hey, depending on your politics, mine is they should never have opened that border like they did, but they did. But we got 10 to 18 million people here. What are we going to do with them? And that's what we're providing input. So, my personal opinion, bad decision to open that border. Horrible decision to open that border. It was just not horrible for the United States at large.
El alguacil está mencionando que para él la decisión de que hubiesen abierto desde un principio la frontera fue un error, pero básicamente ahora el trabajo que él tiene que hacer es buscar una alternativa para poder encontrar la manera de enviar a los criminales, los inmigrantes criminales con récord dañado, básicamente es lo que está mencionando, y que esas personas que tienen el récord limpio puedan permanecer, pero con las estipulaciones que lleguen a las políticas que ellos lleguen, pero su deber en estos momentos es brindarle la información al gobierno de lo que él piensa como líder y por eso es que él piensa que las personas que son inmigrantes que están aquí haciendo el bien por la sociedad eh, puedan continuar con una vida honesta y seguir trabajando por bien.
Haven. Normally, the pictures I hold up are of bad guys. This is a hero.
Ahora está hablando de uno de los
Direction of his country.
soldados.
He was in the U.S. Army Reserves. He was called up. He died in the early days as a result of an attack.
Él está hablando del soldado del Condado Polk que perdió la vida en los ataques de Estados Unidos con Irán, y acaba de mencionar que él va a llegar, su cuerpo va a llegar aquí a Florida a la 1 de la tarde en el día de mañana, y van a estar moviendo el cuerpo de este soldado por lugares donde él y su familia usualmente iban. Está mencionando que se le va a dar un recibimiento como todo un héroe. Y el lunes van a estar moviendo el cuerpo del soldado hasta otro punto en Bushnell.
Cody will not be by himself. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there will be a deputy standing guard because it's the right thing to do. We're proud of him. We're proud of all our military personnel that are standing in the gap and doing what this country's asked of them.
Y de esa manera el alguacil Grady Judd le dio por concluido a ese anuncio en el que está mencionando que el próximo lunes va a estar dándole recibimiento al cadáver, el cuerpo de este soldado caído en el Medio Oriente, y que ha sido noticia durante las pasadas semanas debido a que es una de las caídas locales, una de las caídas que golpearon básicamente al cuerpo de nuestros soldados nacionales, y que también ha marcado parte de la historia de este ataque y también esta guerra en el Medio Oriente.
I have extended that because of the immigration policies and laws to every interaction where we write reports, we take data, your place of birth. And the reason for that is we ask everybody. So no one can come back at a later date, wink, wink, nod, nod, maybe the media, and accuse us of profiling by asking this person of this apparent descent where they were born, but not asking this person. So we ask everybody, where were you born? We had a circuit judge here recently was a victim of a burglary, and we asked the circuit judge, where's your place of birth? Because we are not, and I underscore, we are not under any circumstances at all going to profile, period, dot, red line, don't cross over. And we're not doing anything different. We have reported to ICE our arrest. The difference is with new federal policy, now they're accepting people that are here in this country illegally. And whether or not you've committed a crime called collaterals, if you're here in this country illegally, you took the risk. And if ICE, we don't determine whether you're deported or not. If we determine
esa es la palabra que el alguacil Grady Judd está utilizando para describir a los inmigrantes sin récord criminal, y es la palabra colateral, como estas personas son víctimas colaterales de un sistema que él acaba de mencionar hace un rato antes de traer el mensaje del soldado que va a llegar, su cuerpo va a llegar el próximo lunes aquí a nuestra zona. El alguacil dijo que el 24% de las víctimas, de las personas, de los inmigrantes que han sido detenidos y deportados, han sido colaterales. Básicamente, estos son esas personas que pues no tienen récord criminal en comparación con el 76% de los otros deportados que fueron criminales, personas con presuntamente con récord criminal.
Those other sanctuary states think that they shouldn't tell ICE, oh, by the way, we arrested this guy for stabbing somebody last night, and he's made bond, and he's in this country illegally, and there's a warrant, or maybe you want to check him, or in New York where there's no bail jail, where they beat down 2 police officers in the subway. NYPD does a beautiful job of arresting them, and they take them to first appearance and release them without posting a bond, and they're in this country illegally. Let me define that for you. Rank insanity. Rank insanity. Nutso. But who suffers? Ultimately, the hardworking people of New York and California and Minnesota who's just trying to get along in life and has no choice but to support their government. So why wouldn't you want to cooperate and let the ICE folks sit in your jail? You're making these arrests anyway on state charges, and let them see if they want to put an ICE hold on them for deportation when they're finished the business with the state for violating the law. I don't understand.
I just wanted one last question, and it sort of answered it a bit, but any reason to reevaluate 287G agreements, or is it effective?
Yeah, I think our 287G agreements work remarkably well. Remarkably well. It's an honor to cooperate with ICE because we cooperate with every law enforcement agency. Every law enforcement agency. If they call for help, we send them. Whether it's a small town Bowling Green PD in Hardy County that needs us, or whether it's immigration enforcement, we help. It's our job to help. And it astounds me that there are states in this country that won't allow their police officers to help. I guarantee you, I know cops. I am one and proud of it. I know cops. Those cops in those states would help in a microsecond. And they would do it in such a way so that you didn't have all that nonsense going on in the street. That nonsense in the street is because of policy or lack of policy by the states.
Sheriff, you mentioned having a warm heart. Have there been any cases that you can remember? I you mentioned something real warm, where your deputies have come to you expressing heartbreak about the way the system is right now?
No, not any specifically other than that one lady, and she's been here since she was 17. So if she were deported back to her home country of origin, who's she going to be deported back to? She's lived here since she was a teenager. She doesn't know anybody there. There's not like there's a grandma to go to. So, and I think that's part of the issue that this path forward can deal with. Okay?
How many arrests have you guys made through those agreements as today?
I don't know how many we have today. We can get that to you, but I brought the data that 76% of them have accompanying criminal charges, which that's a clue in itself. When 76% of the people that we've asked ICE and they agreed to hold have accompanying criminal charges, that's a clue of what percentage. I think that's a fair snapshot of what percentage of the people that are here in this country illegally and committing crime. Okay? God bless you all. Have a good day. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bueno, amigos de tampahoy.com, aquí estuvimos viendo al alguacil del condado Polk, Grady Judd. Y los quiero invitar a que vayan ahora a tampahoy.com para que encuentren noticias del día y también estén al tanto con todo lo que está ocurriendo aquí en la Bahía de Tampa. Los quiero invitar también a que nos acompañen a las 10:30 de la noche en DCW Tampa Bay, donde vamos a estar completamente en vivo. Y si no tienes televisor en la casa, porque estamos en esos tiempos que todo el mundo tiene o tablet, todo el mundo tiene o una computadora, los invito a que busquen Tampa Hoy y ahí buscan el área donde tenemos el Tampa Hoy Live y ahí puedes vernos completamente en vivo a las 10:30 de la noche en el día de hoy, de lunes a viernes. Mi nombre es José Ángel Acevedo y como todos los días y todas las semanas estoy aquí con ustedes a través de tampahoy.com y bueno, los veo un poquito más tarde en todas nuestras redes sociales. Quédense aquí en nuestras redes sociales de tampahoy.com y en WFLA.